joining us today for a Q&A and interview with our three leading roles in our production of Gounod's Romeo and Juliet. Really thrilled to have with us our three stars. Just a reminder that the Romeo and Juliet will be streaming this weekend as part of our Opera is On series, available at sfopera.com, starting tomorrow, Saturday, at 10 a.m. Pacific, and available through the end of the day on Sunday. We hope you can all join, and we're really excited that we'll be able to offer this. The format for today's panel will be led by the artist, and there will also be an opportunity for you to ask questions. If you look down below at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a tab for Q&A. Please enter your questions there, and the artist will answer them either at the end or as they come in. Without further ado, I would love to welcome three beloved members of the SF Opera family, former Adler Fellows, and really phenomenal friends and artists of the company. Soprano Nadine Sierra, tenor Pene Patti, and baritone Lucas Meacham. And I'm going to hand it over to Lucas to take the lead.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a live-in conversation with the San Francisco Opera. I am so happy that they tagged me to lead this discussion with my dear friends, Pene Patti. Good to see you, Pene. Nadine Sierra, great to see you as always.
See you, Lucas.
Hey, and myself, Lucas Meacham. I don't know why you decided to include old Mercutio here in this group, but I'm happy to be a part, you know. He dies so early in the opera, he doesn't even get to see the end, how it ends. So I assume you guys were happily married and have lived a long, happy life. So who knows how Romeo and Juliet might have ended. So I've got some questions for all of you, and I'd like to start with you, Pene. So, Pene, we all know, because we were working with you backstage in Zellerbach and rehearsals and stuff, and you were stepping into some rehearsals and not. Now, you were called in to perform the lead role on opening night with really a short notice. So when did you first find out you were going to be Romeo, and where were you?
That's a good one. In fact, I was sitting in the audience, and I was eating donuts. I was eating donuts at the time, and I was watching this happen.
Wait. Okay, no, we have to dig deeper. Sorry, if I'm going to lead this, we're going to have to really dig deep. I need explicit. You know, what kind of donut?
These tiny. It was Johnny's Donuts. It's just literally up the corner on the road, and I thought, man, you know what? I'm going to enjoy this. Like, grab some popcorn. I'm going to enjoy the show. So I'm like busy sitting there scoffing down these sugar donuts, and I'm like, and they said, hey, you got to get up and sing. And I thought, wait, hold on. What, are you kidding? I said, yeah. So I ran to the room, ran back for my donuts, because I left them on the seat, of course. I ran back.
You can't leave your donuts, right?
Oh, no. That's priority right there. And then I got warmed up for it, jumped on.
Yeah, well, I don't want to draw any comparisons, but the one time when I jumped in for a role I was covering in San Francisco was Eugene Onegin. I was eating spaghetti and meatballs, and they called me with 2 hours notice. So, like,
see what I mean?
I totally
see what I mean.
We were carb loading, and we didn't even know it.
Rigging the edge, and we were relaxed.
Yes,
we were there enjoying. We were relaxed.
Because we're professionals. All right. So, what was your reaction when you first got the call, and how did you handle the pressure of performing on opening night for the San Francisco Opera's 97th season?
Holy moly! Wow. I don't think, there are two types of nerves, I feel like. There are nerves because you don't know your stuff, and then nerves because you really want to impress. And thank God I had everything learned and I was ready to go on. I think being part of the Adler Fellowship as well really taught you to be that prepared to be ready to go on. Yeah. I was incredibly thankful to even get some rehearsal time with you guys. So when the call came and said, hey, can you take the rest of the run? I felt ready. I felt incredibly grateful for the opportunity, to be honest, and to be on stage with you two. And of course, the fabulous cast we had and with Eve Abel at the baton. But I don't know, I think I felt ready. In no time was I sitting there going, oh man, I should have done this, or I should be like, did I learn enough? Or I was ready to go, and I was just grateful for it.
That's amazing, man. And I think it helps that all three of us were Adler Fellows.
Yeah.
So that's sort of our home house in a way for where we all sort of grew up, and we know the backstage people. We say hi to the security guards. We know that, we know our dressers and our wig and makeup people. So that probably helped a lot. Now, all right, going with the Adler Fellow sort of idea, Nadine, a quick question for you. You have been singing this Poison aria for a long time, even as an Adler Fellow. So what attracted you to that music in the first place?
Well, I had always sung mostly Italian opera when I was quite young. And going into the French repertoire for me was like a big step. It was just a way of challenging myself and kind of challenging everything that I had learned prior to getting into that repertoire. So it was just a way to push myself. That's honestly what it was. I wanted to push myself and delve into something that I knew I loved, but yeah, just to prove to myself that I could actually do it in the first place.
I think we all can understand that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Now, along the lines of pushing yourself, we all understand that to sing an aria is way different than singing a role,
Totally.
So when you were offered the role of Juliet, I think you'd been offered the role before, but you never took it. And San Francisco was your first one, right? So
Yeah.
how do you judge when is the right time in your development as an artist to take on a new role, especially one with such bite and teeth as Juliet?
I guess I have this tendency to really listen to the people in my life that I trust, and those are my mentors, right? My voice teacher, my voice coach, and
call it the committee.
Literally, it's the village,
Yeah.
literally. And I ask these people, every time I'm offered, some sort of role that, is kind of tough and definitely challenges a singer's abilities. I've always asked them whether or not they felt that I could do it, if they would work on me with it, so that I don't have problems as I'm performing. And I got that go ahead from them, and I also just kind of instinctively felt it in myself that okay, now I think is the time. Maybe there are some things within a role that do still present challenges.
Yeah, but you feel stretched by it rather than inhibited by it.
Right.
I get that.
You feel like the risk you're taking is at least a calculated one, and one that you can, I don't know, transform into something great for yourself in the present and also the future self.
Yeah, well, that's also where we can call ourselves artists, in the fact that art is meant to be pushed forward. And as artists, we are always pushing ourselves forward to sort of develop into the next version of ourselves as artists. And so, that's fantastic. I love it. Now, by the way, we have Patricia Christophe Moy who's saying hello to us here in the Q&A. Hi, she is our French coach. We have all known Patricia for so long. And so anyway, she's one of the best in the business. So we're sending love your way. Oh, she sends it. She says exos to us. Now here's a question, actually, Nadine, for you from Hal Mackey. Nadine, he says, I've been to Italy 3 times. Where's your favorite place in Italy?
Oh, okay. Wait, I have to think about that.
It's a hard question to answer, right?
It is hard because I love Italy. Italy is such a beautiful country, and of course they celebrate opera to no ends. I would say I really love Napoli a lot. Napoli is great because, of course, Napoli has tremendous history with opera. They have the oldest opera house in Europe, the San Carlo, which is gorgeous. I was just there. And the people, I don't know, it's like the people are very relaxed in Naples, and the food is amazing. That's where I guess pizza was invented, was in Napoli. And so the food is amazing. The people are very relaxed and very kind, very sweet. But then there's still this serious side to Napoli with their history, and also just having that beautiful theater there. There's the seriousness in its culture. And I guess with that seriousness, one can only have the utmost respect for for a city like Napoli. Yeah.
Benny,
Nice.
I want to ask you the same question.
Man, you know, because I haven't been to Italy much, believe it or not. I've
That's
only
okay. Well,
so the only time I went there to study Italian. So I was there in Firenze, and I loved it. I was there for about 6 weeks. So yeah. So hopefully, keep fingers crossed that I end up in Italy and do some more things. And
Well-
yourself, Lucas?
Oh, great question. I find myself in Nadine's situation here. I love Firenze myself. The pizza in Napoli is ridiculous. You can't get over that. And then also Venice. I mean, Venice is one of those cities that's just it's a unicorn in the world. It's one of a kind. And so for that reason, I'd probably lean towards Venice. But that with the caveat that those other cities are just like some of my favorite places to be. So, well, Penny, I want to continue with you because I heard that while you were performing Romeo, while you were at a department store following a morning news report about your opening night performance, so you were recognized, basically. What does it mean for you to be recognized as this iconic literary character, as an iconic romantic figure in the public imagination?
You know what? That was a very bizarre moment. It was at Macy's, and Amina was looking for something at Macy's, and someone goes, "Hey, you're Romeo," and I thought, "Hey, that's weird." I was like, "Hey, that's strange." And actually, I was kind of nice. I was more taken aback that they had an appreciation that the art was actually being broadcasted, that everyone was listening to it. It wasn't this person had nothing to do with opera. He was just like, I was watching.
Right? It was at the ballpark.
Yeah, and they were just. And it was it was at the ballpark. And in fact, we were walking home one time, and a person wound down his window on Valencia, and was like, "Romeo!" That was it. And I was just like, "That is strange." And Amina looks at me and goes, "Oh, that's only you." Like, and I said, "Well, I'm not really recognizable," but but I thought Romeo is a good one to be called out for, because imagine if you were like Dick Deadeye. Hey, Dick.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're pretty.
But Romeo is a great one. Thank God it's Romeo. Oh,
Yeah.
jeez, that's a good name to be called out by. Jeez.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. So, all right, this is going to be a question for both of you here. So what made you want to add these roles to your repertoire? I guess Nadine and I, we kind of got into that a little bit, but what did you enjoy most about playing this role, having done it for your first time, Nadine?
Oh gosh.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You can say me and working with me. That's okay.
Well, actually, you and I have a really nice working history together. And I have to say, Lucas, and I've said this to you before, but I'll say it again because there are other people here that don't know us very well in that sense, of personal sense. But I was really happy to do this role, in part because you were part of it too. Because the last time, it's true, no, because the last time we had really done anything together was, which year did you say? It was 2002? We did Die Zauberflöte at Palm Beach Opera?
It was, I think, 2002, yes.
Yeah, something like this. And that was, it had been a long time. And the other one was just when I was an Adler fellow and was watching you, because I was covering in Don Giovanni. And I think it was your first Don Giovanni, right? At San Francisco Opera? Was that your first one?
No, my first one is in Santa Fe, but it was among my first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I remembered when I was watching you, I was like, man, I hope one day Lucas and I can do something together at some point. And then this Romeo happened, and I was like, yes, that's really great. And also, I'll add, Penne, you have to be probably the most relaxed, sweetest, most chill tenor I've ever worked with in my life. And you made it so easy to make a debut, because it was a debut for all of us, I think, no? And you made it so simple, even just for my part, because somehow like the fear of making this debut and going into French, more French opera and this and that, it just kind of disappeared when it was coupled with your energy. And that says a lot, really, really a lot. And there was it's true. No, it's just true. It's just a fact. I'm not flattering you. It's a fact. So for me, I guess I was so happy to do the debut because I felt like I was amongst friends. And there's something about that like takes the edge off of doing something completely new that's challenging. And for a lot of people, that it's exposed kind of, or you feel exposed. So that's what made it like super special and worth doing. Yeah.
But yeah, hey Lucas, because it was obviously it was a role debut for both Nadine and I, but this is not your first Mercutio.
Was not your first?
No, it was not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So what makes it? I mean, other than the fact that you had a great Romeo and Juliet, what made this one? Did this one feel any different to any of your other Mercutios that you've performed?
Me? It was so relaxed. Like again, we're kind of throwing it back and forth to each other, but I can't understate how cool it was to be amongst friends, and be amongst people that are so relaxed and like. I mean, we're gonna get to your high C at the end of the second act, or scene, but like even when it's just, I don't know, you both are just so relaxed in the way you're on stage. Like really, it's like, and honestly, I am too. I never fret. I don't get nervous. I'm very chill when I go on stage, and just to have people sharing that similar energy, it was like we created this synergy of energy, if I could, and sort of brought that onto the stage, and I think the audience really latched onto that as well, those energies that we were all sharing. So I don't know, that was you know what, wow, let's get to this high C actually, okay? So Rene, let me paint a picture here, all right? I'm lying dead on the stage, the hard stage, which I might say I have to lie on for 10 minutes, and Penne reaches the end of the Act 3, Scene 2, and how did you hold that note for so long without cracking? Because the music only calls for a G, right? And here you are going for a higher C, plus holding it for 8. I even looking at 8 measures here on my notes, I'm like, it was longer than 8 measures. Literally, I'd be dead, and I'd be going. Please.
That's a wing and a prayer. It was a wing and a prayer, Lucas.
No, you're lying. Tell us the truth. That's a lie, Penne. I'm calling you out for it because honestly, it sounded so effortless. There was never a question. I was there for all of them. I was on stage with you, and there was never a question that you weren't going to get it and hold it until the cows came home. So, I mean, just tell us a little bit about it.
Like any other thing, like it's like it's a trained muscle, right? Like I can recall 10 years, almost to this date, I could barely reach an A flat or let alone a G. And it was like anything else, I just kept working at it so much. And of course, people, my committee, like same as Nadine, was Cesar, we just worked on this so many times, and I just absolutely got to say that the feeling was always there, and part of it as well it's just the guts to go for it. There's this reward and there's risk, and there's kind of like, you know what, you just will never know how will you get amongst that legendary status if you're never going to take the risk, you just got to go for it. And as I'm on stage singing, I honestly just thought, the first thing was on opening night when I did it and everyone applauded, I turned to the person next to me and I said, damn it. The problem with doing it on the opening night is that you've got to do it every night now because everyone knows about it. I said, I should have saved it for the last night.
Well, every night you did it, there was an extra 1 Mississippi at the end. So you did get better every time. So, yeah. And I remember the curtain going down and you coming over. And every night, Penne would come over to me, having light on the floor for 10 minutes, stiff as a board because, I need a chiropractor after doing it every time. And he'd help me. He'd grab my hand and help me up. And I'd be like, dude, that was a good one tonight. Yes. Man, it was great. By the way, we're getting all sorts of questions and comments over here in the chat. I just want to acknowledge everybody. So Hal Mackey, who asked the question about Italy, he said, yes, and Capria. So fantastic to that. Oh, and Jesselyn Thomas says, can you three please sing Rigoletto? Now that would be fun. I'm afraid both of them are wearing their big girl and boy pants, but my big boy pants haven't been put on for Rigoletto yet. So anyway, and Titika says, Nadine, your Lucia at the recent San Carlo concert was incredible. Oh, Kip Krenna's in here. Kip says hello, and he says, great to see you all.
Yeah.
Nadine, how did you pull off that big Poison aria and still have enough gas left for the tomb scene? They were both great.
Oh, God.
And coming from Kip, Kip's heard everybody do everything.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
that's an amazing compliment.
I guess just practice and like mind over body, you know, it's almost like when you do a hard workout, you just have to like push through it and just keep telling yourself, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I'm not tired yet. I can still keep going. I can still keep going. And having, I guess it's, just mind over matter. And I enjoyed all of the scenes, no matter how hard or how easy they were. So in a sense, I guess it just sort of flew by without my thinking, oh no, now I have to do this, 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 and this. So I guess it's taking things a little bit with less pressure each time in your mind.
That is so true. It's like the more you prepare ahead of time, also the better you are, the better prepared you are to give the best of yourself in the moment. Yeah, I always show up at rehearsal and I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm going to be the worst one here. And I'm like, okay, not so bad. I worked pretty hard on the lead up to first day of rehearsal. So it's important. Preparation's key. So we got Terrence Tilley over here saying, were Penne and Nadine able to reprise their roles in Bordeaux? I saw you were doing this. Were you able to do it? Did it happen?
Yes, we did.
Well, but I'm jealous. I wasn't there for you.
It got locked down. It got locked down on during the performance. So we missed out on the last performance. So as soon as the fourth or the third performance happened, there was 4, and after the third one, they said that was the last one.
Yeah.
But it was actually really nice.
We
missed you, Lucas. Though we missed you, man.
Oh no, I'm sure it was great. Look, I'm sorry. I'm always jealous when my friends do anything without me, and I don't get to go hang out with them. Basically, you know. So anyway, I'm happy y'all got to do that. And by the way, Terrence says, "P.S. I heard Damrau and Yende sing Juliet at the Met, and I have to admit, I like Nadine even better, especially for conveying Juliet's youth admiringly." Okay. Very good. Of course, we also love Pretty and Diana, but congratulations, Nadine. You're Terrence's favorite, Juliet. All right, so let's keep going. Oh, so questions for Lucas. I'm like, nope. All righty.
Lucas, no, you got to answer.
No,
that's the question, Lucas. That's unfair.
All right, fine. You guys ask me one question. Ask me whatever you want.
All right, wait.
Wait, what's it called? Actually, I'm just gonna.
You go, Penne.
No, I was gonna go back to the role because we were on a flying with the roles, and you know, because you were honestly so helpful in the fighting training, because that was my first ever fighting training on, like, I've never done a fighting scene on a stage, but of course it's not your first Mercutio, but you had all this kind of lockdown on how to take care of the fighting techniques on stage. Like, is that?
I've done a lot of stage fighting. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I ever since I took stage fighting class at Eastman School of Music, I've loved to stage fight. And so there is such a technique to it. It has to flow, but it has to be safe. I mean, every fight coordinator or fight choreographer, they're all safety first. They're all about going, you know, a quarter speed, you know, and then slowly speeding it up. And honestly, the only time I've ever had trouble with a fight was in this Romeo and Juliet. Do you remember when I you know, because the whole fight was kind of based around, I have to make it, I have to fight. We have to fight people, and then make it around in time to stab, you know? And so I'm like, okay, got to go fast. And this one time I went and I started, fight. And I started running up stage and I just fell completely over. Like the whole thing. And maybe, I don't even know if you know about this.
I remember that.
You remember this? Literally.
And
I'm counting my beats. I'm like, okay, I can't stop. I can't fight you. Okay, I can't fight you. I basically just do a big circle around the stage and then come back to you to grab you. Anyway, so
you
wait,
did the
did this
catwalk.
really happen?
It really happened.
It actually happened. It happened in one of the shows. I think it was the second show. I think.
I was the second show. I fell flat on my face. So yeah. Anyway,
I'm sure
All
they
right.
love you anyhow.
Yeah, I made it. I made it. I still made it right on that beat because I remember Eve
Good.
was very specific. Our maestro, Eve Abel, was very specific.
Yeah.
Stab on, burn. And anyway, it's very obvious in the music. So, so gang, here, this is a question for everybody here, so we can all sort of talk amongst ourselves.
Cool.
What would audience members be surprised to learn about this production, this particular production, besides the fact that I fell on my face?
Oh man, it's a good
What
one.
would they be surprised?
Yes, what would they be surprised to hear about it?
Maybe they would be surprised to hear that the first time we all did, at least during the rehearsal process, the first time we all did the full opera together, like the three of us together, was
What's opening night? I think
no, but wasn't it the general? Like
I jumped in halfway of that one.
it was halfway in the general? No, that was
I-
pre-general, but the general rehearsal, the next one, I think we did before opening.
Oh yeah, you're right. That was the first
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
But that was the first time. So you guys, this is the rehearsal just before the opening.
Before the opening
It's
night.
the very last rehearsal. We all did that together, the three of us, for the first time before opening. So maybe some people don't know that actually, that's actually how quickly you had jumped in, which is kind of crazy.
Well, but we should say that Penne jumped in for Brian Email, so who's a
Yeah.
fantastic tenor, a great
Yeah.
friend of ours. And Brian just wasn't feeling up to it. He couldn't do it. He was not feeling well at the time. He couldn't do it because he had to pull out, and Penne was able to go on. But Penne Brian was dealing with some issues, and so he had stepped in for several of the other rehearsals. So we're lucky that Penne got as much rehearsal time as he did.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as far as the continuity of running the piece,
Yeah.
that didn't happen much.
No.
You know, another thing that they might not know is that every night before the fight, we would all go up and practice our fights up in the ballet studio in San Francisco. Like we'd have a fight call. So we were always warming that up and practicing that to make sure it was super safe. Because, you know, you got a bunch of opera singers running around with sharp, pointy metal sticks. You want to be safe about it, right?
Yeah, that's true.
All right, hey, I want to take another question here from the Q&A section over here. It's from a friend of mine, actually, who lives just north of San Francisco, Neil Grace. Hey, Neil. He says, what is your favorite major role in opera to perform? Nadine, let's start with you.
Favorite, what is it?
Major
Favorite
role.
Oh,
How are you going to pick this?
no, I think nowadays it's probably Lucia. It used to be Gilda, but I think nowadays it's, yeah, definitely Lucia, because she has a lot of unbelievable music that is very challenging and is always challenging. It never stops. So maybe just that fact that there's always something new to learn. There's always something to do during the process of performing her.
Yeah.
And also I like what she kind of stands for, because I'm a woman, right? And she's this young girl who, you know, goes through a lot. And it's a very, I always consider Lucia as being a very #MeToo kind of opera, because she's constantly controlled by all of the men in her life. And just the pressures that she's having to deal with and struggle with. I just feel like that opera can be very relatable and relevant to many young girls and women today. And so, yeah, I don't know. She symbolizes something for me as a woman. So that's what yeah.
That's beautiful, Nadine. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Hey, same question for you. What's your favorite major opera role to perform?
You know what? Like, comparatively to you two, like honestly, I haven't done many, to be honest.
Well,
and
dream role.
Honest, I think it would have to be Romeo, and it's not being because we're talking about Romeo and Juliet. And there's something about the singing of Romeo, and you know, there's a lot of color to the singing, and it's very difficult for a lot of tenors. And I don't know why I feel that's special for me, because I add my own different color that's actually that's specific to myself. You know, there's a lot of stuff for, like, say, the aria itself, "À Lever-toi Soleil." It's, you know, no one really does the pianissimo at the end anymore, because it's kind of like a technique that's so hard to catch on. I think I love doing it.
Why do you think that is? It's hard.
I love doing these roles that really challenge me, and this one in particular, because there's so much, there's so many pianissimis and pianisto and all this kind of color in it. Yet there's also some really big singing. So in the spectrum of singing, it's massive. I think I really like it. I think it's Romeo.
Yeah.
And yourself, Lucas?
You get to show off a lot in Romeo as well. I really, if I had to sing a tenor role, it'd probably be that or Don Jose. So yeah, I love that. Me, well, I guess I'd love to do Rigoletto with you two.
Hey, that's
maybe my first one. You guys can teach me how it goes.
You would be a great Rigoletto.
Thank you. I'd have to work on my hunch and maybe a little more sound. I smoke a cigarette before every show. All right. So, hey, here's a more personal question. What have y'all been doing this last week? What have you been up to?
Oh, that's a good question.
I've been here. I've been absolutely fortunate to be home in New Zealand, where the virus doesn't really exist in the public, and I say that very reservingly, because I don't want to make it out as if trying to make anyone jealous. But we've been blessed that the government has really locked it down really fast and allows the people to go out and do their thing. So in the beginning of the year, New Zealand, for 2 weeks, they have a New Zealand opera school where the students, 20 students, come down, and the tutors get to, you know, have all this time with the students and teach them something about the experience or technique or whatever. So in the past few days and the past 2 weeks, I've just been having 8 students a day. You know what? After this, I've just had so much respect for teachers. Yeah. Oh God, it's a lot of work. But I love it. I love it to bits. But at the end of the day, I'm so exhausted. Yeah. Just not physically, I'm mentally exhausted, because you want to help in so many ways, and you come home and you're like, oh, that person, here's this what I could do, this what I could help, and not just vocal technique, but everything, because you feel like I know what it was like to be there, or I still know what it's like to be in that position as a student. That's what I've been doing for the last week.
And it makes you want to give that much more, because you know what that felt like. I totally get that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's from home as well in New Zealand, which to be fair is a little harder as well, because we're so disconnected from the world. And you got to drill into them that if this is the career you want, you got to leave home. And that's the biggest step for the Kiwis, because you have to leave home. Whereas in America, you could carry on living in your city, be home and do your thing. In Europe, you can do your thing. In New Zealand, the first thing we tell them, we say, if this is what you want, be prepared to leave. Be prepared to be gone for as long as you may have to be.
Yeah, that's great.
Nadine?
Oh, I have also been teaching. I had joined the Resonance app. I think you too, Lucas, right?
I'm there as well. Yes, exactly. I'm doing too. Yeah.
Yoza.
Yeah, it's a great way to teach these days, right? Or to
amazing. Connect. So yeah, I have been teaching again, because there was a period where I stopped because I was able to perform in Europe, and now I'm rehearsing for, thankfully, a concert that I'm giving with the Boca Raton Festival down here in Florida, and they're doing like a virtual streamed kind of concert, and yeah. I have that going and just living my life, going to the beach, hanging out in the sun. But, and what about you, Lucas?
Well, I've been working on this world premiere that I'm going to be doing in Dallas called The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. And I'm playing the lead role of this character named Jean-Dominique Bobby. He's a Parisian French fashion editor of Elle who ended up having a stroke at the age of 42 and having this syndrome called locked-in syndrome, where all of a sudden the only thing he can move on his body is his left eye. He can only blink his left eye, but he can feel everything. It's different than quadriplegia or paraplegia. It's actually you can feel everything. He's perfectly cognizant. And so he works out this way of speaking to people through blinking his eye when they say a letter he wants to represent in a word. And he ends up writing this book that wins all these awards. He becomes this pillar of the community for people with locked-in syndrome. So I'm playing this character. Anyway, I've been working hard on that. And I've also spent the last 5 days up in the northern country here in Minnesota, snowmobiling and skiing with my wife. We have a 1.5-year-old son, and this is our first time going away from him, and grandma has been watching him. So that's what I've been up to.
Oh, jealous.
Yeah.
Hey,
thanks. Well, come on. It's sunny where you are. I'm in the snow up here, and I'm making the most of it.
I wanted to ask quickly to both of you, and because of course we're talking about opera, but you, Lucas, like myself as well, we both actually got into a lot of pop music and karaoke singing, and to, I've got a group called Sole Mio who do a lot of contemporary stuff, and it's just, did you start off doing that, or did you start off doing opera and kind of lent into that because of just a fun little
Man, I didn't know what opera was. I was like 16, 17 years old, and my mom bought me a 3 tenors tape, not CD, but tape. And at the time, I could imitate anyone on the radio, male or female, because my falsetto was amazing. I was singing Whitney Houston, I was singing Steve Perry, I was singing anyone, Bon Jovi, and Axl Rose especially, and all of a sudden I listened to this 3 tenors tape, and I'm like, oh, and I was like, I can't do this. There's no way I could imitate these guys. How did they do it? And so it really piqued my interest in the moment. And then I went to school to study singing and thought, well, maybe one day I could do something like that. And, a couple years later.
And yourself, Nadine, have you gotten into doing some like more contemporary stuff?
Yeah, I wish I were like you guys, to be so versatile with your voices. I was never like that. I could never belt. I could, even if I wanted to, I couldn't. And I did do some musical theater before going into opera, because I started taking voice lessons when I was 6 years old. Because I was obsessed with singing, obsessed with music, and I was driving my parents crazy. And they were like, "We need to get this girl into some lessons because we can't deal with this right now." So I sang everything under the sun, but really, when it came down to it, like opera was, I think when I'm 10 years old, I made the decision, like, I need to be an opera singer. Like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. But if I had a choice, honestly, if I had a choice and I could like magically switch my voice, I would love to sing, like you mentioned, Lucas, Whitney Houston. Like, I would die.
Honestly, I would pay a lot of money to hear you sing Whitney Houston.
Oh my God. It would be the best.
For those who were there, who had the fortunate, time to be there when Lucas sang "I Need Somebody to Love" with the orchestra, it was divine. It was insane. It really was. I was standing on the side going, "This guy." It was great, Lucas. It was honestly.
Thank you. I appreciate. So I guess Penny's referring to the park concert that happens in Golden Gate Park. San Francisco Opera puts on this great concert, and yeah, Greg Hinkle, the casting director, artistic administrator at San Francisco Opera, asked me if I wanted to do something a little off the cuff, and I gave him my list of karaoke songs.
That is awesome.
And he chose that one, and so anyway, it's yeah, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I can't tell you, there was no one in the audience that enjoyed that moment more than me. Really, really. All right, you know what? Here's a great question for both of you. Do you think it made an impact on the audience to have 2 people of color in the starring roles?
Oh.
Ooh, coming in strong.
Yeah, I honestly didn't even think about that. Is that weird?
I didn't either, and I just saw the question. I was like, wow, I guess so.
Yeah. What about you, Penny? I didn't even think about it.
I personally didn't think about it either, to be honest. But I maybe from an outside view, maybe that was such a beautiful thing to kind of give inspiration to other minorities, people of color, to understand that they too can take the leading roles. I guess if I was looking in and I saw this, I would be inspired to pursue it. I honestly would. And especially from me as well, from background that doesn't know anything about opera, or who started off with nothing to do with opera. I think looking in, if I had seen that and I was a freshman sitting in the audience, I would have been like, hey man, like maybe that is something I can try. I can give it a go and people won't judge me or people won't laugh at me. I don't know, I think I would have been inspired by it. I actually would.
Were there any artists that either of you have seen that gave you the feeling that you probably gave the next generation of singers, like you're talking about, Pene?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God, yeah. Well, I think just coming from me as being a woman, you know, just from that and like having to deal with certain similar things, you know, just, I don't know, dealing with certain comments or certain attitudes towards women in the working place and just talk. I mean, Marilyn Horne was definitely one of them. Marilyn Horne was a woman whom I've spoken with about that in particular and how to deal with that, you know, how to deal with being a woman in opera, dealing with conductors or directors or people that you can feel, oh, there's a little bit of, you know, that machismo sort of attitude and
Yeah.
how to be professional still around that. And she's a very outspoken individual and very strong. I'm sure, Lucas, weren't you part of Music Academy of the West at some point?
I somehow avoided. I've been a part of many of them, but I have avoided that one. But I am also a huge fan of Marilyn Horne.
I mean, she's like, Penne, have you ever met her? Have you ever met
No.
Marilyn? Oh my
Never.
God, guys, she just tells it how it is. And her birthday is actually tomorrow. So just for everybody.
Well, happy birthday to a legend.
She just tells it how it is. And like, I think she's probably like the number one female opera singer I really learned a lot from. And still to this day, like, there's just a lot to look up to with her. Obviously as a singer artist, but really as a person, as a human being.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. All right, well, I've got a couple other questions here because we're going to start wrapping up. And everybody, if you have a final question, please drop it in here. I'm seeing a bunch of comments in here that are so kind, and I can't read all of them, so they're so nice to everyone here. Thank you for all your involvement with the questions and the answers. And if you have something final, type it in there. I'll try and get to it before we're going to end. We're going to bring it to a close here in about 5 minutes. But these last two questions are very good ones, and they kind of encompass some of the questions that we've seen on the question and Q&A over here. So, gang, how do you reimagine characters as well known as Romeo, as Juliet, and Mercutio? How do you find your own unique spin on these roles?
You know, personally, whenever, well, especially for this, it worked well for this, but for characters on all scenes, for all across operas, it's funny, I always take myself, what would it be like if I were Romeo? You know what I mean? Like, there's something, sometimes you turn up and you say, oh, you got to have this person's idea of Romeo or the director's idea of Romeo, which I truly respect. But I always, in everything I've done with the Duke or Percy and Anna Bolena, I always go on with the idea, like, what would it be like if I were living that life at that time? If I were Romeo, so I put my own personal spin on it rather than trying to become someone else's Romeo. Yeah.
That's a good answer.
That's a great answer.
Yeah. I think mine would be pretty similar. I guess because I've played so many young girls, because let's be real, they're all girls. They're all teenage girls. Juliet being the youngest. I mean,
the roles no 15-year-old could sing.
Yeah. But I guess I kind of like Penne, like I've tapped into, you know, how I would react in those things, and sort of like how my younger self would have reacted in those situations. Or I don't know, I find a lot of similarities in my younger self with some of these girls. And I guess I use that. I use like emotional recall for all of that. I'm sure you do the same, Lucas, because Lucas is an amazing actor. He's like,
I know.
in there.
You guys are so kind. Yeah.
It's true.
You know what? I think it's true. I think to sort of add to what Penne and you said as well, Nadine, I think that I tell younger singers this that I work with. I say it's important to be a great musician, but it's also important to be a great person who does lots of things. Because the more you experience in life, the more you can bring your life experience into the characters that you play.
Yeah.
And so I find that's really important. So I mean, there's so many moments in my life where I've had something sort of hit me like emotionally or as a moment in my life, and I'm like, I'm gonna remember this way this felt so I can use it when the Count finds out that, you know, that there's a letter that's been written to him, you know, like or in other character places. So and Penny, I think you hit on something really big, which is as opera singers, we show up and we're kind of directed by the director and also conducted by the conductor, told what to do musically, what to do as actors. So I find that my favorite experiences to have with directors especially is to show up as prepared as I can with my own ideas of what I want to do and have a sort of communal gathering of what that character should be together, and we find it together rather than someone. I've worked with directors who, if they could hire a computer that they could program to be me, they'd prefer that. Or also the other side where they've shown up and said, all right, show me what you got, you know,
What you do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see what you got. And so I find it's best as a young singer, when I was a young singer, to show up with every idea that you have, but be prepared to be flexible as the director and conductor give you notes.
Yeah.
Do y'all find that as well?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's right on.
And you're
Yeah.
still young, Lucas. Stop it.
I'll take it. Thank you. By the way, Erica Miner says, not a question, but you guys just rock together. I love opera singers. We need more. Erica Miner, I wish you would spread that around the world. Thank you. Need it. And Yolanda Papapietro is here, and that is our alarm to get wrapping up. Yolanda Papapietro is here. Hi, Yolanda. She's a real dear friend of mine and runs Papapietro Winery up in Sonoma. Some of the best Pinots you'll ever drink. But she says, Lucas, Penne, and Nadine, I was at opening night in San Francisco, and it was so amazing. You all have lots of loyal fans in San Francisco. Love it.
Oh,
All right, gang, we're going to wrap it up with one final question. And it's kind of a big one. It's a little bit of a can of worms. I'm opening right when we're supposed to be finishing. So I'm going to open it. We're going to get through it, and we're going to call it a day. What do you think audiences will get from the opera version of Romeo and Juliet that they wouldn't from the ubiquitous Shakespeare play of Romeo and Juliet?
stunning music, stunning singing. That's a good question.
Yeah,
Jeez, Lucas, you're hitting us with the big ones.
All of the dialogue and the words that the play has in it, it would still be happening in San Francisco. You know, we'd probably be pulling the curtain down in about a month.
It's quite long,
Right?
But yeah, I think what Penne said is right. It's spot on. It's just that you're getting the music. You're getting that energy from behind the story, behind the words, of music heightening the drama, you know, music heightening the experience of the story of Romeo and Juliet. That's what opera and kind of music is there for. It's to heighten human emotion. And I mean, what better story than Romeo and Juliet to like bring to the utmost kind of emotional.
Yeah, nothing conveys emotion more than music, man. It's just, well, you know, the story itself is already, it's full of love, it's full of anger, it's full of heartbreak. But you add music to that and it's game over. It really is. It's just, oof.
Absolutely. All right.
What
Well,
do you reckon?
we're going to bring this to a close here. Nadine, do you have any final words to leave us with?
Sure.
Love it.
I would say, in the current time that we're in, first of all, Happy New Year to you guys and to everybody
New Year.
watching. Yes, happy 2021. And I'm just hoping and praying that this year brings about more wonderful, beautiful things, not just for the opera community, but just for the world. And, we all have to keep our heads up high, keep working, keep inspiring each other, and allowing ourselves to be inspired by our dearest friends and colleagues, and just to keep positive during this whole thing. It will all come back as long as we're together, as a unit. It will all come back.
Yeah. Renee, you got any final words?
It's pretty much the same thing. It's have heart. The music will always be there. I can't wait to see you two again and to hopefully perform again. I can't wait to see everybody. I miss everyone so much. And I don't know, even though this is some incredibly challenging times for the art, something tells me that it won't fade away. It will always be there. We'll still be singing. The voice will keep flying. And just a little note to the students here in New Zealand Opera School: tonight's your night to sing. Get out there, sing, because the world would love to be here to hear you guys sing. To the students, carry on. Forza, coraggio. We'll get through. Lucas?
Well, to piggyback on that, I want to talk about operatic careers and opera singers in general. It's a wheel that continuously spins, where you are at the beginning, you're in the middle, and then you're at the end. And then there's always people that are ahead of you and behind you. And I think back to my early days and think, had this pandemic happened in 2006, I'd be living in my mom's basement. So I want to make sure that everyone keeps in their hearts and in their minds young singers who are the next Nadine Sierra and the next Pene Patti. They're the up and comers. They're the ones that are being hit the hardest. They haven't had a chance to save. They haven't had a chance to have contracts come in yet. And they are the ones that are ultimately missing the opportunities right now. So keep them in your hearts, keep them in your minds, and keep them in your donations, if you will. Please. And I know that we're speaking to wonderful people that are participating in this. If you're watching this, you're deep into the opera world, and we love you. You are the reason that we're able to do what we do. So thank you for being there for us, and please continue to be there for us, because it's now been a year since, it's now been 10 months since we've been shut down, and it's going to be at least another couple months in the United States. I have that on good authority from a lot of places. So just keep us in keep us in your hearts. Yeah. All right. Gang, thank you so much for joining. Thank you to Sean Waugh. Thank you to the San Francisco Opera. This has been Live in Conversation with Nadine Sierra, Pene Patti, and I'm Lucas Meacham. Be good to yourselves and be good to others.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Lucas.
Thanks, Lucas.
Turn it over to Sean. Or we could go for another 20 minutes.
Is he there, Sean?
You know what? If he's not there, I think if we all just leave, it'll take care of itself. All right. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. Bye, all the best.
Bye.
I miss you guys. I miss you guys a lot. All right.
Miss you too.
Hope to see you soon.
Stay well.
Bye.